Right, I'm going to start by apologising. I went for a dentist appointment today thinking I had been booked into the hygienist. It turns out I'd been booked in for a filling. So the right side of my mouth is currently numb. So if you're watching this on YouTube and I start dribbling, I apologise. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, I apologise if you can't really understand me. But I needed to get this done today because it needs to go in our September newsletter. Right, so what not to shout from the sidelines. This came about from a social media post we did a few months ago, which caused a bit of a stir. Not so much on Facebook and Instagram, but on TikTok. Anyone that knows us knows our bugbears with this sort of thing and our thoughts and feelings about what should be said and shouldn't be said from the sidelines of junior football matches. But if you really want to see some of the things that are wrong with grassroots football, go to that TikTok post on our page and check it out. Check out the comments. There's people arguing in there. We're getting called names. It's an interesting read and quite funny. But the post was, ban these phrases from junior football. And it was, get rid, go long, not there, and snap him. Now, snap him doesn't happen, or snap her doesn't happen that much, but we have heard instances of that happening, and we still think it probably goes on in some areas. But get rid, go long, and not there are the things that I want to discuss today, and they all fall under the banner of instructions. So this is what we're saying: stop instructing from the sidelines. Stop shouting instructions to children, particularly if you're a parent. We're going to talk about the coach side of things as well, but parents, it just needs to stop, okay, for these reasons. Hopefully after this you'll understand why. A lot of the time people, it comes from a good place. There's no doubt about it, but it can do more harm than good in the long run. So why should we stop these things from saying these things at the sideline? Number one, it hinders decision making. Decision making is massive in football, and it's massive for learning, okay? So if you want your child to get better at football, then it's not just what they can do with the feet, it's using their head, it's using their brains. And the only way to develop those sorts of things is to allow them time to develop the decision-making skills. If they are constantly instructed and told what to do and when to do it, that they miss out on that. Example, which some of you will know, we tell this story a little bit, but we took a team to up to Leeds United back end of last year. Played a team, they had a coach, this was, and he did nothing but instruct his players from the first whistle to the last. Literally every time a player got the ball, they were told what to do and how to do it. His keeper got the ball, but let's say the keeper was called Louis. Louis, go long. Louis, go long. So Louis went long. Great decision. Now, can you see the irony? Louis has not made a decision. Louis followed an instruction. And this is what we're talking about. There's a huge difference between learning and performing, which again we spoke about before. Louis performed that kick, that long ball, okay, which looks like he's learned something, looks like he's done good. It may have come off, but he's not learned anything because he's not made that decision himself. And this is the balance that you need to strike. We're not saying there's never a time for instruction, but it's just understanding that it's probably not a good thing. It's allowing these kids to just make the mistakes and make their own decisions. And if that decision is wrong, then fine, learn from it and talk to them about that afterwards. What could you have done better and all that good stuff? But it really will hinder their decision making if you're at the sideline just constantly telling them what to do and when to do it. So number one. Number two, it disrupts their focus and also their fun. Okay, so they're trying to concentrate. They've turned up on a Saturday or a Sunday to do something they enjoy, and they're trying to concentrate on the game. To them, every week's it's every week's an FA Cup final. You know what kids are like; they absolutely buzz off this. So then to be concentrating on that and to be really enjoying that and wanting to enjoy it, but then having you or others in their ear constantly, just think about what that's doing. How annoying is it for us when, let's say, we're having a conversation with a parent in the playground and you've got your kid next to you that's just constantly nagging at you, asking you a question. Mummy, daddy, can I do this? Daddy, can I do that? Mummy, can I go there? You're trying to have this conversation and focus, And then that is really annoying. Now think about that in the context of somebody doing something that they really, really enjoy and look forward to. They've got someone on the sideline nagging, so they can't focus on what they're trying to do, and you're also taking the enjoyment out of it as well. Think about your hobbies. I don't know, people here might be playing tennis, golf, football themselves, whatever it might be, but then just imagine you're trying to concentrate on that. You've looked forward to it all day, all week, and then you've got somebody on the side that's just constantly shouting stuff at you to tell you what to do and when to do it. That's your child. That's the same. It's not different just because they're younger than us. It's exactly the same. It's annoying and it's pretty boring as well, as an adult. So imagine what it's like as a kid. So disrupts focus and can also disrupt the fun. Next one is the brain, conditioning the brain. Okay, so example. Let's use the term, let's look at the term get rid or not there. Those terms are normally shouted, those phrases are normally shouted when a child has the ball or does something in the box with the ball, maybe pass it across goal or whatever. So as soon as a child gets a ball in the goal, it's maybe an outfield player in the box, sorry, near the goal, their goal, the screams will be, get rid, not there, not there. Okay? Now, going back to the earlier thing about the decision making, that kid now has had the decision made for him or her and has then just got rid of the ball, just hoofed it. Okay, and let's not even talk about the fact that we're trying to get kids to play football, not just whack it long all the time because there's a tiny bit of pressure on them. But now, if that is a constant phrase they're hearing whenever they get the ball in their own box, then what are we doing? What are we doing to their brain in terms of conditioning them? Their automatic thought is going to be, get rid of it. I need to hoof it, because that's all they've heard. And it's almost like a danger zone then. It's almost like a red zone. As soon as they get the ball in that particular area, oh, nope, gotta go. Whereas, again, it might come from a good place. You've seen your child get the ball in the box and then, I don't know, two players coming from behind him to tackle him or her. You shouted that because you don't want him to be the person that gets dispossessed and the other team score. Understood. But what if we just took a step back a second and allowed him or her to make that decision themselves? You might actually find that they'd recognise there was danger behind them, and then they've played a pass out wide to their teammate that started an attack. But because we've screamed at them the second they've got the ball, they've had that decision made for them and it's gone long when actually something better could have happened. So going back to the learning and performing thing, that child has learned a lot more by being allowed time to make that decision. If he or she gets tackled and the other team score, okay, bad news, but I bet he or she will learn a lot from that. And it might just be a case of, what could you have done differently? Well, if I'd have just turned my shoulder and scanned, I'd have seen that there was a player behind me. And that meant there was a bit closer than I thought, and so I probably just needed to kick it long that time to one of my forward players, or maybe I could have took a touch out to my left because they were coming to my right. And you see now they start to understand, and I won't mind betting that they won't make that same mistake again because of what they've learned from that discomfort of having a goal scored against them because they got dispossessed in the box. So we have to be careful with these things because it's conditioning their brains to do things that actually might not be the best thing. But then when they get older and they start doing it, we're gonna moan because no, take your time. So there's got to be a balance. And the only way that they're going to be able to learn is to be allowed time to do that. It's hopefully that makes sense. It's not nice when you see your child make a mistake, and this could be in a big game. It could be I don't know, maybe they're a bit older, they're playing in a cup game and they do this and get dispossessed, the team score and your team miss out on lifting a cup. So I get it. A lot of the time, all of this stuff, a lot of the time is coming from a good place. It's not, no one's doing it for any other reason a lot of the time. But it's just getting parents and spectators at grassroots just to understand that it comes from a good place, but that doesn't mean it's a good thing for children. So yeah, hopefully all that makes sense there. Every moment is different. So your child gets the ball in their own box 1 week, second week they get it in their own box. That moment is going to be entirely different. Even if they get it in their box 1 week and then 2 minutes later they get it in their box again, every single moment in football is different, okay? So don't shout these cliche things that are not going to do anything for learning and development, because get rid actually might have been a good idea. And I don't like the term get rid, but you know, maybe look, too much pressure, go along, whatever. But the next time they get that ball, it might be a slightly different situation. And so it's just for them to understand that and for them to learn that. And then it's down to us as coaches and parents to facilitate that by asking good questions and getting them to think about it. So yeah, that's the third one. How are we conditioning the brain? It's not going to do much if we're just telling them to do these things when it's probably not the best thing longer term. Fourth thing, and for any coaches listening to this, you'll get this. It basically, what you're saying might be a complete 180 of what the coach has told the players to do. Now, what the coach tells the players to do is nothing to do with us as parents. If we want to get our children into a team, then we've got to accept that the person in charge of that team is the coach, is the manager, and what they say goes, okay? So if you start shouting instructions that might be a counter to what the coach has told, what the manager's told them, then you're just going to start causing more confusion. And you'll see a lot of kids, a lot of people listen to this about kids where it's like they're almost looking around because they're lost, because they've been told two different things. So you do not need to shout anything because you don't know what the coach has told them to do. If your kid is constantly just going long and getting rid of the ball in their own box, that might be that the coach might have told them to do that. Whether or not we agree is a different thing, but the coach has told them, the manager has said that's what he or she wants them to do. So as much as we might want them to take a touch and try and play and make better decisions, that's the manager's told them to do that. So we can't just start screaming at our child to do anything different, because that's not your job. If you want to do that, then you're gonna have to put your hand up and coach and get involved in the team and make some decisions for them. But that's it. It's the coach, the manager may want to play in a certain way, and we just have to accept that as parents, because otherwise it's just going to start causing confusion. And if you maybe are confused about that, speak to the manager about what he is instructing, and maybe you can get on board with that, but he or she, but that's not for us to be involved in. That's the manager's prerogative, manager's decision. Going back to the coach earlier on that I told you about, that was constantly instructing, that's his decision. If he wants to do that's fine. He's running the team. None of the parents can tell him to do any differently. If they don't like it, they're gonna have to go somewhere else. The thing with the coaches is, if you are a grassroots manager listening to this, is I would still keep certain instructions to a minimum. I know you feel like you probably need to have quite an impact. I think things like instructing on tactical stuff, so maybe switching sides of players, switching positions. Maybe you want maybe the team's going long all the time, the other team you're playing against, and so you talk to your defence and say, can you guys push back another 4 or 5 steps, whatever it might be. That sort of stuff's fine, your tactical bits. But I think above and beyond that, you just then need to allow your players, particularly when they're on the ball, to make those decisions. And maybe you could, if you've got players on your side, you could just be asking them little questions here and there. What can you do when Josh gets that ball down there? Fine. But all the same things that I've spoke about before, about the hindering decision making and disrupting focus and all that still applies even if you're a manager doing this. It's not just parents. So you just choose your instructions wisely, and in my opinion, don't be constant with it. Allow them time to make these decisions themselves and fail and learn from that. And maybe you will just take some notes of what you're seeing and then design a training session based on what they need help with. That's coaching. What have they struggled with when I've allowed them to do things without instructing? And then you design training sessions that are going to condition them to do these things automatically much better next time. So yeah, that's the thing. I think from going back to the parent thing, don't confuse your child. It's not going to help anybody. It's also going to get the backup of the coach, and then we hear this time and time again. It just starts creating a toxic environment. If you don't like the way your child's coached, if you don't like the way that they're playing, then just find a different team. It's as simple as that. So what to do instead? Encourage, console, congratulate. Simple as that. Encourage them, console them if they make a mistake, and congratulate them for doing good stuff. And that doesn't have to be a goal all the time. It might be a run off the ball that they've done that was a brilliant run, but they didn't get the pass. It might be a tackle, whatever. But encourage, console, congratulate. You don't need to instruct. Your instructions will not be the difference. They will not make a difference. And if they do, who's won? Your child's not the one. Mummy and daddy have won, haven't they? The mummy and daddy have told them what to do. So can your child take much glory from that? They've just executed what you've decided for them to do. That's not that good, is it? It's much better if you see a kid do something just out of pure instinct and ability and whatever, rather than mum and dad making those decisions for them. So, and the last thing, some listening to this, if you did play as a kid, will probably understand what I'm talking about. But don't be that mum or dad that the other kids end up talking about, because when they're little, it's different. They don't know much. They don't know much about this sort of stuff. But as you start getting into those later primary school years and into high school, rest assured, some of these kids will be making fun of those other kids whose mum and dad are just doing nothing but screaming nonsense from the side. I've been a part of those teams. Thankfully, I had my granddad used to come to watch me, and didn't really raise his voice too much unless I wasn't trying. But those kids where your mum and dad were just shouting utter nonsense, we'd make a bit of fun of those kids, and have a bit of a laugh with them. But it's not nice. It's imagine being that child. So think about that. Don't be that mum or dad. Hope that all makes sense. Hope you've been able to understand my voice today. and as we say all the time, please just message us if you need any advice. We love getting questions because it allows us to put out more content that people actually want to listen to and engage with. So if you do have questions about this one or about any topic within grassroots football that we feel that we can help with, we always will do. But thank you as always for listening. We'll see you again next time.